So this module on meditation mirrors the way that I actually teach meditation. And the way that I teach meditation has a lot to do with the way that I personally learned it. So before we dive in, we have to cover a couple of caveats or disclaimers. The first is that while we've tried to make this module complete, at the end of the day, it's just an introduction. We'll try to give you guys a solid understanding of many of these foundational concepts, but by no means is it going to give you a perfect understanding of anything. So if there's a particular part of the module that you really like, I strongly encourage you to study further and learn more from that particular path of meditation. The second thing is that this meditation module is sort of part of a broader goal that we have in the Healthy Gamer community of teaching people more about their mental health and how they work. So if you're looking for a place to learn further or to explore further, I strongly encourage you to participate in our community. Check out our YouTube videos or our online communities or other places where we discuss topics like meditation. And the last thing is that everything in the module is intended to be for educational purposes only. Sometimes we will talk about issues of mental health, but I want y'all to strongly remember that these issues are really to be dealt with by a medical professional. And so everything we include in the module is intended to be purely for educational purposes and isn't supposed to be taken as medical advice. So without further ado, let's begin. So I was hoping to become a monk for about 7 years and traveled trying to find the right place to take my vows. I ended up traveling to a lot of different monasteries through India, South Korea, and Japan, and never quite found my home base. I never quite found the tradition that fit for me. And as a result, I learned a lot of different perspectives on meditation. So something about the way that I teach sometimes appeals to a lot of different people. And I think the reason for that is that they'll try to go learn meditation somewhere else. And they'll go to an expert, right? They'll go to someone who's studied as a part of a particular tradition for like 20 years. And that person is absolutely an expert on meditation. But they're an expert on their kind of meditation. So when you go to a monk or you go to a particular tradition, they'll tell you this is the way to meditate. And that doesn't work for everyone. And this is the really sad part, is that when you go to an expert to learn meditation and they say this is the way that you learn, and it doesn't work for you, then those people are left thinking that meditation isn't for me, which honestly has never been my experience. When I teach people meditation, what I try to start with is the idea that each person is individual, each person is unique, and that finding the right meditative practice is all about figuring out which kind of meditation works for you. The challenge is that most of the time when you go to an expert on meditation, they'll try to get you to conform to their practice, whereas I think a good teacher actually does it the other way around. My hope is that we can expose a lot of different perspectives on meditation, a lot of different traditions on meditation, and you can find the right kind of perspective for you. So for example, some people really like to focus their mind on a particular thing, and other people find that it's very hard to get their mind to focus on a particular thing, which is totally fine. It doesn't mean that you're bad at meditation. It means you need to be given a different kind of meditation technique, like an inquisitive meditation technique. For people who have difficulty focusing their mind, I'll tell them, don't worry about focusing, try to answer this question. For example, where in your body does your breath travel? Where can you feel your breath when you inhale? And for some people who have a lot of difficulty forcing their mind into one place, what's far easier is following their mind when they give it a task. So this module is kind of organized as a journey through all of these different traditions. And we start with the most basic, which is what is meditation? And this is kind of super unfortunate because with the explosion of mindfulness, with the explosion of apps and blog entries and YouTube videos, everyone's talking about mindfulness. But if you ask people, what does it mean to meditate? What's the difference between meditation and mindfulness? You can't actually get a clear answer. And so we start by understanding what literally is meditation. And the answer to this actually resolves a lot of difficulties that people have. The next thing that we'll get into is the history of meditation. We'll go through how meditation as a practice evolved, where it started, how it branched off, and even where mindfulness was born. Because mindfulness isn't actually all of what meditation has to offer. In fact, it's a tiny, tiny fraction of the tradition of meditation. And after we explore the history of meditation, a natural question arises, which tradition is right for me? Which one should I do? And we'll explore different kinds of meditation. Inquisitive practices versus focusing practices. Open awareness meditation, where you observe your thoughts, versus chanting a mantra, and how each of these practices gives you different benefits and is suited for different kinds of people. After we kind of go into the different styles of meditation, we're going to talk a little bit about the science of meditation and really understand how this practice affects your physiology, affects your neuroscience, and affects your psychology. After going into that, we're going to actually go to the metaphysics of the meditative worldview. How did these yogis who sat there and kind of meditated for decades in caves in the Himalayas, how did they understand the universe? How did they understand the nature of existence? And this stuff is a little bit theoretical, and you don't actually need to believe it, but serves as a very important backdrop for the rest of the things that we're going to learn. And then we'll cover some of the foundational discoveries of the meditative tradition. Dukkha, which is the Sanskrit word for suffering. We'll explore where suffering comes from. And then we'll go into dharma, or duty or responsibility. Once we understand dharma, we can understand how to overcome suffering and find purpose and meaning in life. And lastly, we'll touch on karma, the causative principle, and understand a little bit about how cause and effect work, not only in the world, but also in our own lives. And that sort of completes our introduction. And then we get to the fun part of the module, which is where it kind of splits up. So when I teach someone meditation, I find that not every perspective is helpful for every person. When people come into my office and want to learn how to meditate, they want to learn how to meditate for a particular reason. So we'll kind of cover 4 different perspectives that the meditative tradition offers, and each of those perspectives is useful for a different reason. So we'll start with the manaspada, or the path of the mind, in which we explore the nature of mind. What are the pieces of mind? How can I understand my mind and where thoughts come from? And so by understanding our mind, we understand a very, very simple tool, a crucial tool that we have to learn how to use if we want to build the life that we want to. After the manaspada, we'll look at the jnanapada, which explores the nature of knowledge. And so why is it that even though intellectually I know what I need to do, I can't bring myself to do it? That kind of exploration is in the jnanapada. And we'll also explore practical tips like what is the nature of studying and learning? How can I learn the most efficiently? After the jnanapada, we'll get into the atmanpada, which is the path of the self. So in the atmanpada, we sort of explore these core questions like what is the nature of a human being? What makes up a person? And the cool thing is that a lot of our difficulties, a lot of our suffering from life actually comes from not realizing who we are. And as we discover who we are, we find ourselves unshackled from a lot of the things that hold us back. These thoughts like, I am a failure, or I'm unlovable, or that person is better than me, all stem from not understanding what we really are. And so as we discover our true self, you'll be free from these ideas like, I'm a failure, and you just won't feel that way anymore. We'll learn how to conquer things like low self-esteem. And so that's the Atmanpada. And then we get to my favorite path, which is the Siddhipada, or the path of accomplishment. If we think about our lives, there are a lot of things that we want to accomplish. We have all these intentions, all these desires, all these goals, but all kinds of crap gets in the way. We may be undisciplined, we may be unmotivated, we may not cultivate the right kind of environment. And you hear from people who meditate very regularly and for long periods of time that they become more successful. I hear this stuff a lot from places like Harvard Business School and Harvard Medical School. And when I teach meditation there, people feel like they kind of optimize their performance. So how is it that meditation can allow you to accomplish more? In the Siddhipada, we'll essentially explore this relationship between intention and manifestation. And how is it that we can cultivate a particular kind of mindset, a particular kind of environment, a particular kind of cleansing practice so that our mind is focused and pure, and then all of the things that you want in life become manifest. And so this summarizes our approach to teaching meditation in this module. It's the approach that I take when someone actually comes into my office. It's a highly individualized approach that draws on 20 years of experience of studying meditation in different countries with different traditions, as well as sort of understanding the science of meditation and how to apply meditative practices to actually conquer people's problems, whether it be low self-esteem, depression, or anxiety. And so our approach in this module is to give you the best of what all of these traditions have to offer, to give you lots of different meditation techniques that are targeted towards particular realizations or overcoming different kinds of problems. So I really hope that this module will be helpful for you, and I hope that it'll also be fun. Okay. There we go. So this module